Hello and welcome to Policy Bazaar. I'm Arjun Bhagat. Now, if you think your age, gender, health condition and sum insured are the only factors that determine the cost of your health insurance policy, well, think again. The city that you reside in also plays an important role in determining your health insurance premium outgo. Today, many insurers, including the likes of Max Bupa, L&T Health Insurance, Cigna TTK and Star Health Insurance, offer city-specific health insurance plans that allow you to pay a premium as per your area of residence. So, which amongst the two is better suited for you? Let's find out more about zone-based health insurance plans and try and understand how it compares with the All India health insurance plans. Joining us today in the studio is Yashish Dahiya, CEO and co-founder of Policy Bazaar. Yashish, welcome. Now, are the zone-based health insurance plans, are they a standard across all the insurers right now?
No, they're not a standard across all insurers. A very few insurers, as you saw, about 4 or 5 insurers have taken out pricing of insurance plans based on zones. And even within those companies, there isn't a standard. So just to give you an example, something like a Bangalore for a Max Bupa would be a Zone 1 category, whereas for Star Health, it would be in Zone B, while Delhi is Zone 1 for both. So it isn't like, that there's a rule out there that Bangalore has to be Zone 2 and Delhi has to be Zone 1. Depending on what the insurance company is seeing, they have crafted out certain zones. And as I mentioned, 2 different companies could have the same city in different zones. But yes, zone-based pricing is becoming a little more popular. And it started off with 1 company, and now 4 companies, 5 companies are doing it. And I believe more and more companies will do it in the future.
So how does it really work? I mean, one understands the cost of healthcare, differs from city to city. So is that how the justification, they arrive at a justification of the costing of a health insurance plans based on where you stay?
So let's take a few examples. You could be living in, let's say, South Delhi or in South Bombay. Alternatively, you could be living in Karnal or, let us say, Muzaffarabad or Pondicherry. Now, chances are that if you had pretty much the same disease, and I'll get to some more details later, but if you had the same disease, let's say, you fell sick for 4 days and had to go to hospital for 4 days, chances are the cost of hospitalization is going to be lower in Pondicherry or Karnal or Muzaffarabad compared to South Bombay or South Delhi. And that's basically what the hospital is saying. So what they're seeing is that for the same consumer with the same disease, the claims are lower in certain cities compared to other cities. Now, but more importantly, as one dives deeper, and this is data I don't want to comment too much on, but even the types of diseases people are having are somewhat different basis larger cities.
On the city that you live in?
Yeah, of course. So you would, if you just introspect a little bit, say that somebody living in Ambala versus somebody living in Delhi are likely to, in general, have different lifestyle-related diseases, or at least different lifestyles. I would say somebody working in Bombay is probably working longer hours. There is different kinds of stress, is probably walking less. Somebody living in Delhi is probably driving on their own, which probably the person in Bombay is not doing. Somebody living in Ambala is probably taking nice walks in the morning and evening. So there is a bit of lifestyle-related impact also that the companies are clearly seeing in terms of data.
Lifestyle as well as the quality of living. So,
which is what, quality of living.
Delhi has been rated as one of the worst
It's got one of the highest pollution. It's got one of the highest pollution. So your chances of getting, let's say you lived in, Kasauli, your chances of getting asthma are pretty slim. Whereas the chances of getting asthma in Delhi are pretty high.
Right.
So, and all these diseases do,
so it's interesting that all these weigh in on how much you end up actually paying now.
I think the companies are starting to give the advantage of that.
Right.
So just because there's a very expensive hospital in South Delhi that everybody can go to, or Gurgaon, does not mean the person who is wanting to get treated in Ambala should pay the same price. So he's basically saying, hey, why don't I pay lesser than the person who's getting treated in Gurgaon.
So in many ways, that's an incentive for a lot of people who are staying in second-tier cities or not the main metros to actually go out and get health insurance.
It's a fairness. It's a fair price. I think companies are just being fair about it and being trying to price fairly rather than having a single.
So what are the advantages and the disadvantages as far as an individual going out there and opting for one of these? Because one has the option, right, of taking the all India one or the zone-based health model.
So see, there are lots of advantages and disadvantages. Of course, the clear advantage of somebody living in a tier 2 city is the fact that they could potentially get a lower price. By the same logic, if you really think about it, if everybody, suppose 50% of the people live in tier 2 cities and 50% live in tier 1 cities. Today they are paying the same price. If everybody in tier 2 starts paying a lower price, by naturally somebody else has to start paying the higher price. And so the prices of the tier 1 cities will go up because today it's balancing out. That's going to go. So the price is one advantage. But if you think about the disadvantages, now somebody living in Ambala, if they suddenly decided to get treated in Delhi, they would have to, that is going to become difficult. Suppose they get posted. Suppose you're in a postable job. Today you're in Ambala, tomorrow you're in Bombay, third day you're back in Karnal, fourth day you're in Delhi, or fourth year you're in Delhi. Again, that starts to create complications. So I would say it's early days. It's for those people who are settled in a particular city and who are perhaps live their lifetime in that city and are comfortable taking treatment in that city, who do not envisage moving out of that city for treatment. It's the same. If you really ask me in a very specific manner about the treatment ability, there are plans that have worldwide coverage. So if you have a disease, you can go to the US and get treated. And there are plans where you can get treated within India only. So it's the same thing in a way where you can get treated within Ambala zone or 100 kilometers of Ambala zone, or you can get treated in Delhi. So there is obviously that difference exists, and it's more for a specific type of individual who's very clear that they're going to live in a particular city and not move out of that city
but there is also the factor, I mean, you talked about traveling, going. It's also the factor of, traveling with your family on holidays. And so what happens then? Suppose you're hospitalized in another city. Do you end up paying higher because how does that work?
No, so basically most of these plans you do have the option of getting treated out of your zone. And if you do get treated outside of your zone... So
it's not just restricted to that particular state?
Oh, no, it doesn't say that you cannot get treated at all.
Yeah, that's the clarification that I think is important.
No, you can get treated. So suppose you were in Ambala and you had gone on holiday to Bombay and suddenly you fall sick, or you start living in Bombay and you fall sick. Yeah, you can go to the hospital in Bombay, but there will be something called a copay, which could be 10% or 20%. That you would need to pay.
So that one needs to be aware.
Which essentially compensates for the price. See, if you look at the price advantage
So let's get into the specifics of that. Because, it seems that this entire justification for zone-based is on the price factor.
Yes. So the price difference between, let's say, a Karnal and a Delhi could be as much as 20% right now. So there's a 10% between zone 1 to zone 2. And a further 10% from zone 2 to zone 3. Now, one has to be very careful because for the same company, for two different plans, the same place can be in two different zones. So, Max Bupa, for example, has two different plans where a lot of Thane, Panvel, that area can for one plan come in zone 1, for another plan come in plan 2. Because one plan is looking at more serious diseases, whereas one plan is looking at more family-oriented, smaller diseases or, family kind of. So one is more critical illness type based. But overall, you can get an advantage of about 20%. This distinction, in my view, will keep increasing in the future because the cost gap and the lifestyle gap will be better understood. And I think finer segmentation will happen. But right now, there's about a 20% price difference that can exist. And that essentially leads into the 10 or 20% co-payment that one has to do in case one avails of treatment in another city, which is just fair, right? That you pay 20% less and you pay 20% more when you take the claim if you take it from a city which is not within your zone.
And everything else remains pretty much the same,
Everything else pretty much remains the same. There isn't much of a difference.
Right.
So most of the things are covered. Most of your basic terms and conditions, most of exclusions, inclusions, they stay exactly the same. So there's not much difference out there.
So what is your final recommendation? Should one go for a zone-based health insurance plans or an all-India health insurance plan?
Unless you are extremely tight on the funds and you desperately need that 10% or 20% discount for your city, I would say go for all India plans for now. Because people do travel, unless you're absolutely sure that you're going to live in the same city and you're going to get treated in the same city. You do travel, and when any serious disease happens, at that time you don't want to be constrained by your city or by even the thought that you're going to be constrained by your city. You would want to get the best medication, even though you may eventually get treated within your city. But in your mind, at least the constraint won't be there. So I would still recommend going for all India plans to most consumers, unless you're really, really specific about getting the 10% or 20% discount. And one of the reasons that I think the 10 to 20% discount is not sufficient, because the potential difference which I can see from from somebody living in Ambala versus somebody living in Delhi is far wider, both in terms of lifestyle, the kind of diseases, the number of repetitions of such diseases, as well as the final cost of treatment was vastly different, and I think 20% is not enough.
Right, okay. Now it's time to take viewers' questions. We've got Simriti, who's 35, and she asks, what are my options in case the insurance claim is rejected because of certain facts that were not disclosed by me at the time of the policy issuance? Yashish.
See, it depends on what facts these are. Basically, there's eventually common law out there. So one needs to see that the misdeclaration you have made, is it something that you could have just missed, or is it something that you have done very much on purpose? And I'll give you a few examples. If you've had treatment for cancer 3 months ago and you say you've not been to hospital ever, now that is one kind of misdeclaration, because there's a question out there, have you been hospitalized for the last 5 years, right? That is one level of the misdeclaration. If you had dengue and you went to hospital 2 years ago and you forgot to mention it, that's not material. But if you've had a serious disease, if you've got a serious pre-existing condition and you fail to declare it, that means you are genuinely hiding something. And in that case, because this policy was given to you under basically the utmost good faith is what insurance policies are given under, then the policy itself ends up becoming void because you cheated on the contract. This is talking about health insurance plans. In life insurance, the company has, I don't agree with this principle, but because sometimes excuses were made, so the company has 3 years to investigate anything. But once 3 years are over, they cannot reject your claim basis any misinformation you have given. So, for example, if you had the same situation where there had been cancer and you failed to declare it, if 3 years pass, you are covered under life insurance. Again, as I say, I personally do not agree with this principle because I believe you're not supposed to lie when you get into a contract. But the government has made it easier. The regulator has made it easier for consumers because the same should not be used as an excuse by an insurance company. So the insurance company that gets up and says that, look, you had dengue 3 years ago and you did not declare it, that company is using it as an excuse. And I think there you have full right to go to the ombudsman, then to the IRDA. So first of all, write to the CEO of that company. Mostly it will get resolved because no CEO of the company really wants to kind of, so write to the CEO of the company. Write to the CEO of the company, then to the ombudsman, then write to the regulator. And if you don't get justice to the regulator, go to the High Court and get your justice, because eventually, everything is under the scheme of law.
Right, Yashish. So Prashant, who's 32, writes to us. He says, I want to buy a pure online term insurance plan, but I'm confused between LIC and other private companies, the plans, the riders. My annual income is 4 to 5 lakh rupees. I'm married. I'm 32 years old. So please help me select a plan accordingly. I also want to know whether it's true that I will get only one policy claim, whichever is the higher one. Yashish.
No, first of all, you will not get a one policy claim. So let me try to kind of work this. I don't want to recommend between whether you should buy LIC or whether you should buy private, because that is going to be unfair. But all I would say is you do not need to think about whether the company will pay you your claim or not. That you do not need to be worried about at all. All you need to worry about is the fact that you are largely declaring everything truthfully. If there's anything fundamentally wrong, you smoke or you have had a major disease, you must declare it. Do not misdeclare. As long as you do that, you don't need to worry about which company's policy you're buying. That is absolutely immaterial. What you need to worry about is what kind of policy you're buying. Now, in term insurance plans, there are fundamentally 3 types of insurance plans. One, where you get paid, your family gets paid upon, death, and that's it. It's a basic term plan. It's got a one-time payout. The second is income-based support. See, usually one-time payout is not as effective in healing a family's problems as a long-term income support is. To give a very simple example, if somebody who earns 1 lakh rupees, or 4 lakh rupees a year, like yourselves, if their family keeps receiving 4 lakh rupees a year, that has a certain value. If they receive 50 lakhs in one go and nothing after that, that has a different value. They may do something else with that money, and that money will not become available. So the 4 lakhs has a very significant value. There are a third type which return the premium in case of survival. So you have to choose which type you want. There are lots of other options that come with these plans. You can cover your spouse along with yourselves. You can have plans that pay out for children's education all the way till children grow up. You can have plans which not just give an income, but that income keeps increasing at 5% every year. There are lots of options out there. And lots of companies have innovated, and the innovation is ongoing. Let me explain. Our own quotes page changes every month because there are new plans coming out every month. And like 3-4 have come out in the last month itself. So definitely explore, but do not even once worry about whether the company will pay you a claim or not. The companies will always honor your claim. Every company is 90% plus in terms of claim settlement. Once you go beyond the 3 years, every company is 99% plus. So do not worry about the claim settlement.
Right, Yashish, we've got Shubhad, who's 60 years old. He has controlled hypertension. His wife is 55, is diabetic, and also has controlled hypertension. And given their age, would you recommend that they opt for term insurance plans?
No, certainly not. At 60, I'm assuming they're very close to retirement. That is not a time when you should enter, term insurance by any standards. What they should look at is consolidating their savings and trying to create some kind of a pension pool out of it, some kind of an annuity stream out of it. That should be their priority at this moment, along with health insurance. Yes, they do have controlled hypertension, but that does not mean they cannot get any health insurance. I think they're at the last stages of being able to get health insurance, because if it gets any worse, then it's very difficult to get health insurance. So I would focus on health insurance and not worry too much about term insurance for now, because the future income stream is not that strong, and hence you do not require term insurance.
Right, we've got Amrit Mohan, 45 years old, and would the amount of alcohol that an individual consumes, he asks, affect the premium of a term life insurance policy? Interesting question.
I think the answer lies with yourselves. If you ask yourself, if somebody consumes alcohol in large quantities, is that going to have an impact on their life stage or how long they live or not? Chances are, yes, it will have. If you're going to drink outside of moderation, it will have an impact. And of course, it will impact the life insurance cover as well.
And that's a declaration that the gentleman will have to give as well, yes, right? On the form of the term insurance.
You have to explain, do you drink, not drink, and how much do you drink? And I would not misrepresent on that, because at least for the first 3 years, your coverage can be under risk if you've misdeclared significantly. Of course, if you misdeclare and it goes undetected for 3 years, under the current rules, the claim will still have to be paid, because it's the company's job to have investigated and stopped the policy within 3 years in case a misdeclaration is made and they're not comfortable with it.
Right, we've got Renu S, who's 58 years old and wants us to recommend a health insurance plan for her and her husband, who's 59. As of now, they are covered under the CGSH scheme of the government, and also they should, whether they should opt for individual health plans or a family floater plan. Would it have a direct impact on the premium amount of the policy?
Sure. So I think given they are under CGHS, are they going to stay under CGHS post-retirement is one question. If they are going to stay under CGHS post-retirement, then I would like to ask them how much capital they have. If they have significant capital, they really don't need to go for a health insurance plan per se. They could take some of the plans which are add-ons onto CGHS plans, which basically allow you quicker access into hospitals, faster treatments. You don't need to go through the approval process. But those are specialist plans which you may need to investigate. If you are going for individual plan, the CGHS will not cover you post-retirement. In that case, I would say go for individual plans. Do not club your plans together. At 58, you're very comfortable getting lots of plans out there, depending on your health situation, of course. I would say Religare, Max, Reliance, Tata, HDFC, Star Health, Apollo. I could go on. I just hope I have not missed people. HDF. So there's a whole bunch of companies out there that you can investigate and take a plan from. At this moment, before 60, you don't have to get into a senior citizen plan. Most of these plans will be able to take you in. So there should not be a problem.
Right, Yashish. Well, last week we asked you a question, what does a PMJJBY stand for? And the correct answer is Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana. And the winner is Sandeep. Congratulations, Sandeep. Now, this week's question is, what does PMSBY stand for? And you can send in your entries to queries@policybazaar.com. You can tweet us at Twitter @policybazaar_in. And of course, as I said, email us your questions at queries@policybazaar.com. Thanks a lot, Yashish, for joining us on the show. But that's all the time that we have. And we'll see you next time with another episode of Policy Bazaar. Goodbye.